Welcome to Rolling with the Tides, navigating the waves of science and biohacking with CDJPepperz and friends. Now grab your NAD and a cup of coffee, and let's get into it. Quick disclaimer, everything on this podcast is for educational and research purposes only. We are not doctors, this is not medical advice, and always talk to your physician before making any health decisions. Welcome to Rolling with the Tides. I'm Caitlin, also known as CDJPepperz. This is where we break down peptide research and ask better questions, all in educational context. So whether you're new or part of the Pepper fam, you're in the right place. So let's get into it. All right, guys, get ready for today's conversation because today we've got Bailey Jacobson joining us. You might know her as BiohackwithBails on TikTok, but Bailey has been passionate about holistic health for most of her life. And that curiosity led her to pursue a path toward becoming a physical therapist. But along the way, she realized she wanted something more, not just a career, but a deeper understanding of the body and how we can support it in a more comprehensive way. That foundation really propelled her into exploring biohacking and peptide research and how these tools are being studied in the context of supporting the body's natural processes. She brings a really thoughtful perspective to this space, and I'm really excited to dive in with her and into her knowledge, her story, and how her journey has evolved. So let's get into it. And here we are, Miss
Oh my gosh.
Bailey.
Hi.
Huh?
I'm so excited to chat today. Thank you so much for this super warm welcome. I feel like you did such a good job just describing me and a little bit of my story, but I can't wait to dive a little bit deeper into all of our conversations today.
I am so excited to have you here. It's always so fun when we jump on lives together and stuff. So this is like that on steroids. Like we're turning
Right?
up the volume on that because we have like a whole hour and change to go through a deep dive on a topic without having to stop and answer how much backwater we put in something.
Right. Right. Isn't it refreshing? I know. I'm super excited. It will be really nice to take the time to just,
Yes.
chat more with you and be able to share all the things that we know that can hopefully help some others too.
Exactly. I love a deep dive.
Yes.
Yes. Glutathione, KPV, BPC 157 and TB 500, CJC 1295 and growth hormone signaling, vasoactive intestinal peptide, and epitalin. So here we go. Today we're talking about what are often referred to as immune modulators and what I like to call the helper peptides. Now, just to frame these correctly, these are compounds that have been studied in research models for their potential roles in immune signaling and inflammatory pathways. This is not about recommendations or outcomes, just understanding what's being explored in the research. So we'll be touching on compounds like thymosin alpha 1, thymolin, LL37, glutathione, KPV, BPC 157 and TB 500, CJC 1295 and growth hormone signaling, vasoactive intestinal peptide, and epitalin. So here we go. All righty, Bales, we ready?
We're ready. Let's
All
get
right.
into it. As we always say, let's get into it.
Let's get into it. Let's start with what I think is an easy one. I don't know if the people at home will agree with me, but I think it's an easy one to start with. Thymosin alpha 1. Yes. What do we think of thymosin?
TA1. I mean, personally, in the sense of the research and how amazing it is, it's such a powerful compound. And we can kind of feed off of each other talking about this too, but it really does help with T cell production, which is kind of like the fighters. I like to call it that way in our body. They are the ones that are throwing the punches. They are the ones that are helping us combat, or helping in theory combat viruses, bacteria, anything that is foreign to the body. T cells are crucial and play such a big role within our immune system, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's important to know that it is derived from thymus tissue. Your thymus gland is where all your T cells come from. That's why they're called T cells, for thymus cells. And that's what makes up your immune system, the fighter cells in your immune system, as Bailey was saying. And I like to, because people often get confused or conflate thymosin alpha 1 and thymolin as doing the same thing. They don't. They do similar things, but not the same thing. So I like to say, if your T cells, picture them like bricks. And if we were in like the Middle Ages in England, you would be like throwing bricks at your invaders. That's what thymosin alpha 1 does.
Mm-hmm.
Throws bricks at the invaders. So it makes more bricks and it throws them at the invaders. So that's what we do with thymosin alpha 1. So it's pretty straightforward, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I like to keep going with the brick analogy right into thymolin, just because these two are like kind of quickies, because there are some that we want to get into that are way more complex than these two. Is thymolin,
Mm-hmm.
another thymus derived peptide. This one is taking those same bricks that are being generated and building them into a wall. So it organizes and modulates the immune system. So they're not always making more T cells when you're using thymolin. It's calling in all the existing bricks you have and forming them into a proper formation to defend the fort.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I remember you even saying this too, Caitlin. It was like building a wall. Like I remember when we chatted on live, it's like it's literally a wall that is being built to help protect, obviously, your body, which I feel like is so unique and so cool about that
Mhm.
particular compound.
Yeah. I also like to give shout out props to RIP Dr. Kavinsen in Russia. This is one of his precious bioregulators. So it was derived from actual thymus tissue back in the day before they started synthesizing it. It helps with the maturation and differentiation. Those are the fancy words for what it's like to build the wall. And little known fact, when they say zinc helps your immune system, it's because zinc helps thymolin be more active in your body,
Mm-hmm.
which is pretty
It
cool.
does. It does,
Mhm.
which is something I didn't know about, actually. Like, that's something that I've learned while doing research is that zinc plays a very powerful role when it comes to our immune system. And we can obviously dive more into that too. But I just feel like it's so important within our body, hence the reason why getting blood work done, looking at those things, like seeing those bioregulators, right? Like, as
Mhm.
thymolin is checking those things within our blood too. Are we deficient in zinc? And if so, does that make sense that our immune system is off? Absolutely.
Mhm. Yeah.
Absolutely.
We're going to get into, with all of these, a lot of supplements that people often say, oh, such and such is good for your immune system. D is good for your immune system.
Mhm.
C and E are good for your immune system. But nobody really says how or why or what that means. So as we go through all of these peptides that are under this blanket, we'll be calling some out too. So
Mhm.
you'll at least have context. And I always like to shout out Cam, like, you can't out peptide a bad lifestyle, and you need a strong basis in that lifestyle of supplements
Mhm.
to get your peptides working at their full potency in your research.
For sure.
Yeah. All right. Next up. Next up, we're going to do one that also is thymus related. A lot of these are going to be thymus related until we hit LL37, which I'm excited to hit LL37,
Mm.
but we're gonna save the
Yes.
best for last. We've already decided.
Yes.
Um, but the next is growth hormone, but we're gonna target CJC 1295. Um, just to keep it easy, because all growth hormone kind of does this on some level, but specifically CJC 1295 modulates immune system.
Here's my thoughts about CJC 1295. It is a GHRH, which stands for growth hormone releasing hormone, right? I think
Mhm.
a lot of people want to look at GH secretagogues as, this big like entity, like they all kind of do the same things. But when you compare CJC to something like tesamorelin,
Mhm.
they are similar in the sense, but one maybe performs a little bit better than the other, based
Mhm.
off of maybe clinical research, right? So there are people who are potentially researchers who prefer CJC 1295 over Tessa and vice versa.
Yep.
Research subjects with autoimmune activity or any sort of inflammation within the body, CJC 1295 might be a better option than tesamorelin. So it just really depends on the research and really what you look at to figure out which one potentially might be right for you. CJC 1295 is honestly an amazing compound. It is a GHRH, which is a growth hormone releasing hormone, very similar to something like tesamorelin. Very much helps with modulating modulating the immune system within different researchers, within the clinical data. You can see that it helps improve that, right? So obviously looking at our inflammation, our immune system overall, CGC 1295 can play a big role with that for sure.
In research, it's been found to boost the thymus gland, promote T cell maturation, stimulate cytotoxicity, and balances cytokine production, strengthening adaptive and innate immunity. So let's break down what that means.
Yeah. Seriously, right? There's a lot. It's a lot that goes into it, right?
Yeah.
And even researchers who are looking into this who potentially have overactive immune receptors, right? People who have underperforming receptors as well could potentially benefit from this based off of the clinical data, right? So I think it's just really looking deeper into that and truly understanding what the responsibility is of this compound.
Exactly. So basically, it enhances the thymus, which the gland itself, which again we talked about, creates the T cells, and then it enhances immune cell activity. So CJC 1295 enhances all cellular activity. It creates a cellular. Dr. Seeds calls it like cellular efficiency.
Like
So
cellular regeneration almost,
kind of,
right?
yeah. And
Okay.
also just like the activity going on inside the cell working at its most efficient. So, yeah. And then with all of that enhancing, it enhances the enhanced IGF-1 levels from CJC 1295 influences your cytokine responses. And cytokine is one of my favorite words about, the receptors on your cells that are usually inflammatory markers, strengthening the body's defense mechanisms against pathogens, foreign antibodies. So
yeah, I love talking about cytokines too.
I
Cytokines
know.
is
I love it.
so unique, and their responsibility and property, like specifically for, research purposes, right? With acne, that has been proven to be shown to reduce cytokine activity with something like that, right? Which is very cool and very promising for the future, might I say.
That's why when we talk about potential improvements on like hair, skin, and nails from GH secretagogues, that's what we're talking about. That's part of how it happens. Exactly. So that's another one that fits under our blanket of helper peps. Now we have like a little umbrella one that we can go through because they all kind of are like holding hands in like one of those Red Rover lines in my mind for immune modulation. But BPC 157, TB 500, KPV.
Yeah, these are fantastic compounds for sure. They are so amazing. BPC, for those of you that are listening, don't know what it stands for. It stands for Body Protection Compound, and it literally does just that. Protects the body from inflammation, being able to try and help fight oxidative stress. It is one of the most profound compounds we have come across to help with muscles, ligaments, tendons, and tissues. And I've always said, too, TB500 is also an amazing compound. They're like peanut butter and jelly, is what I always say. They just work so well together when you understand their responsibilities and you understand the roles that they play with each other. It's kind of like TB500 is like the repairman, is what I've always said. It really goes in there to help with repairing the body, like kind of finishing the job. That's always what I say, too, is it's finishing the job of what BPC is kind of doing, especially for something like a knee surgery, a back surgery, a hip surgery, something that is a bit more chronic to the body, right? So being able to have both of those compounds not only help to fight off systemic inflammation, being able to potentially, right, heal muscles, ligaments, tendons, and tissues, but then also being able to really finish the job by closing that gap and really rebuilding things even too can be very, very powerful. So
part of how they relate to the immune system, which is like our overarching blanket theme today, BPC is formulated in the gut, which is where they say like your immune system starts in your gut. That's part of where that comes from. TB500, thymus and beta 500. Yep, you're right. If you guessed it, it means it comes from the thymus gland. Ding, ding, ding.
Crazy.
It's crazy.
Crazy, right?
Connecting the dots. Everything's about the thymus in this episode. If you walk away with one thing from this episode, if it helps your immune system, there's a 50% chance it has to do with your thymus gland. And then KPV also. When they say KPV helps the gut, well, that's part of how it relates to helping the immune system. So let's talk about the gut immune system connection. There's a mucosal lining in your gut, and that's like the firewall if we had internet. And inside this firewall is 70 to 80% of the body's immune cells are acting as a primary interface between the microbiome and your systemic immunity. So that's where they go live. So the lining of your gut regulates the balance between attacking harmful invaders and tolerating beneficial microbiota and dietary nutrients, largely through regulatory T cells.
Fun fact. If you did not know, KPV, I believe KPV is derived of lysine, proline, and valine, which also definitely plays a direct role in mucosal gut lining, but I also believe that it does play a role with the epithelial lining as well. So it is another layer within the gut that KPV is really responsible for. I have always said, off of so many different research and clinical studies that I've read, it helps the barrier in more ways than one. Can help with a little bit of digestion, even can help with creating a really safe environment for food to go in, whether it's something that's healthy, something that is unhealthy, something that is acidic, something that is, very healthy, right? There's so many hats that I feel like KPV really plays. And it's really cool to kind of dive into that side of it with the immune modulation aspect of it too. Because when we're sick, and even from my holistic background too, when I think about this is, you are always told when you're sick to never have sugar, to never have those things, because it just destroys your gut lining. It destroys you from the inside out. And so KPV, same kind of thing, right? Like we were talking about TA1, how it's kind of like throwing punches at things that are foreign to us, but KPV is in the gut. It's really going in there saying, we don't want you here. But we're also just going to protect it at the same time, which I find to be really unique and very cool about its responsibility that it has within the gut.
So the other cool thing while we're talking about this is that a lot of things that modulate the immune system also influence cytokines, which are the inflammatory markers. So there is a direct connect, between invasion of foreign antibodies and inflammation responses. So
I agree.
Yeah.
And I think the one thing, I didn't touch on this too much about TA1, we were chatting about it earlier, but I love to compare TA1 to Advil as well. Because when we look at Advil or ibuprofen or Tylenol or something like that, it shuts off all of your different receptors, whether they are good or bad. So when there's chronic inflammation, that's why when someone takes an Advil, their headache goes away, because it shuts off all of your good and bad receptors. But TA1, on the other hand, is very innovative. It's a very smart compound. It knows when the good receptors are doing its job and will keep those on and running, and will only turn off the ones that are potentially hurting someone, or potentially receptors that are, overreactive, have really strong inflammation, right? So I find that to be very cool, and why I always gravitate towards the research of TA1, because it really adapts to the person based off of clinical studies. It adapts to an individual researcher versus just an Advil will take out all the receptors at once and not think twice, which I find to be so fascinating. When I was digging into that more, I was like, wow, if we only knew that, right? If we could only take TA1, or if we could only find TA1 in a capsule, that would be amazing. It would be amazing.
Yeah.
So
we're bioavailable enough to be in a capsule.
For sure.
What I mean? Whatever amount that would be. Who knows? Maybe.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah. Think how strong Advil has to be in order to turn off every single inflammatory receptor within the body. Extremely powerful. And imagine if it's only the bad, or if it's both the bad ones and the good ones. Your body's having to fight for homeostasis, also known as
Mhm.
balance, to put your body back into that. So not only are you having to fight out the bad ones, but then replenish your good ones at the same time too, which can obviously be harmful at times. So
There's a few of these that are very smart ones that only go after the the bad ones, as you've dubbed them, and leaves the good
yeah.
ones alone. So it's kind of amazing how these peptides are so smart. And a big part of that is how they know is electrical charge,
Mm,
because healthy
mhm.
body cells have a neutral charge and
Yeah.
unhealthy body cells have either a negative charge or a positive charge. So
Mhm.
these peptides are more attracted to the electrical charges than they are the neutral ones. So that's why
Mhm.
they leave them alone.
Yeah. And it honestly makes me think a lot about the parasympathetic and sympathetic systems, right? Naturally. You
Yes.
think of the nervous system, and maybe that's even something we can dive into too, but your nervous system plays such a huge component in your immunity. If you are under stress, your body is too. It does not know if you were jumping off of a bridge or if you're just dreaming that you're jumping off of a bridge. It has no sort of, recollection to know which is which. And so being able to put your body in a state of calmness as well too, especially when you are under the weather, is incredibly important. So thinking of things that reduce oxidative stress, right? And there's some peps that we will talk about for sure that definitely help with reducing oxidative stress as well too.
Mm. So we want to go into one that reduces oxidative stress because we can jump. We can talk.
Glutathione.
Let's do
I
it.
love glutathione. Yeah. So yeah, just even diving into that too, right? About a potential, any one of these that can help with oxidative stress. Glutathione is amazing. I feel like I talk about this every single day because it truly is one of those, compounds. It's actually it's a master antioxidant. So I can't necessarily say like it's a compound or it's a pep, but it's an antioxidant. It's a master antioxidant though that helps with protecting the body, helping detoxify the body,
Mhm.
helping with skin complexion, helping with your kidneys, helping with your liver, like fighting off oxidative stress, whether that is physical, mental, emotional. We all naturally carry that as humans. We are imperfect. Unfortunately, I have to break it to you guys. We're all imperfect, but we all carry those things of oxidative stress, whether that's things we can control, things that we can't control, like free radicals, heavy metals, seed oils, things that are in our foods that creates oxidative stress. That's obviously me talking more from my holistic perspective as well too, because food plays a big role, but you can really research more about glutathione to help with reducing that oxidative stress within the body.
I mean, there is also ways you can implement it without ingesting or injecting because glutathione is found in our food. You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Yeah,
like
it
whole
is.
fruits and vegetables contain glutathione. When I talk about glutathione, like I like to paint a picture of a campfire. Like your cells are a campsite, and the mitochondria is your campfire. And sometimes when you have a big rip roaring campfire, sparks come off of the fire, little sparks fly off of it. And your glutathione is like the teeny tiny little fire extinguisher that puts out those sparks so it doesn't create a forest fire.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why I love telling that
I like it. I
story.
like it. I think it's fun, and it's such a great way to teach. And that's how I love to teach is I dumb it down to a first grade level so you can actually digest content and actually be able to understand what these do. Because I feel like half the battle is just understanding what they are, what they do, and their job that they play. Because if we don't understand that, right, especially at a a campsite fire, then
Mhm.
we have no idea how its job like actually makes an impact, right? But I love that. I think it's so fun and such a fun way to
Yeah.
explain it.
The way I think about it is I always joke in my life, even without talking about peptides, that I speak in analogies. I come from a comedy background,
Sure.
and analogies are part of jokes, like they're
Hmm.
part of humor, you know?
Yeah.
And when you make something into an analogy, especially one that's as powerful of a visual, it's going to stay with you more than me reading off like directly neutralizes free radicals and reactive oxidative species.
Hmm.
Like,
Right.
if you don't
Right.
know what that means right off the bat, I've lost you. That's
Hmm.
it. But
For
when I
sure.
tell you a story and I paint you a picture, now
Mm-hmm.
you have emotional context, and that's going to help you with the educational context.
Mm-hmm. For
And
sure.
I think that's a really powerful tool in our teaching, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm starting to like own this role of teacher
Yeah.
now
Yeah.
on TikTok. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that this is a really big part of the gig, is
Mm-hmm.
creating the emotional connection to the material for people so it stays with them.
Mm-hmm.
Because you might not remember everything I say, but you'll remember how I made you feel. That's a quote that I am uh,
Yeah, you swear by. And
paraphrasing.
yeah, and no, I love that. I feel like to be a good content creator is to be relatable. And I think it's to be transparent. And I think it's to have something that connects with someone. You can go find any of this information on yourself, right? You can go and be a researcher and you can go and spend the time. We have spent years of our life, both you and I,
Mhm.
diving into this. And I think the reason we do it is because we care so much about people.
So
We
much.
we wouldn't do it unless we didn't care about people. Like we care so much about people that we want them to be able to learn and be able to digest the content and take it home. I say that all the time. I'm like, there are so many people you can learn from, and that's great, but I want you to understand it, go home, and get back to doing the things that you love to do, because that's what matters most to me. I know that matters most to you is spending time with the people that you love. And that's why my saying is like, spend time with someone that you love, do something that you love, because life is short. We are such a small part, and the fact that we get to be like in that educator role, in an educator space, in a very complex industry, might I say, and
Mhm.
just being in research, it's a lot. And
Mhm.
kind of taking that ownership, especially as women in a very male dominated space,
Very.
is incredibly challenging. But I feel like that's also where we shine at the same time, too. I think we shine because we see women, especially I have a great diversity with my community for sure, of both men and women, but I feel really, really connected to my women because they couldn't find information that related to them until they came maybe across Caitlin or came across someone like me. And I think that that's privilege for sure. It's a privilege to be able to be in people's journeys and stories, and share our education in a way that makes sense, or else you can just go read a book. But I feel like this is a more fun way to do it. So,
Yeah.
mhm.
I'm a lot more fun than a Google search.
Way more fun, way more fun. And I would think that we're funny. Like I think we're
Oh,
witty and
yeah.
we're funny. And if you guys haven't hopped on
Yeah.
our lives before, we're a hoot and a half. So come on
I
in.
say that too.
A hoot and a half.
A hoot
Mm-hmm.
and a half. We are
Yeah.
funny. We're
Mm-hmm.
very funny.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're a little
We're gonna make
biased, but
we're
a little
gonna yeah,
biased.
maybe. I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know.
A
I
little
think it's pretty
biased.
fair to say. We're funny
Yeah.
without being mean either. I think that's a novelty
Mm-hmm.
in and of itself. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like I
Unbothered. Unbothered.
unbothered, and I don't feel the need to talk down to people either. You know what I mean?
No.
And that's not a comment on other people. I'm just saying like there
Mm-mm.
are people who, as a way to be funny, can be disparaging. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't feel like a need to do that. That's not where I go with my humor.
No.
If I
And
disparage anyone, it's usually myself.
For sure. And I think one of the biggest parts too of like being in this space is, especially as a per se educator, right? If that's what you want to call us, right? Um,
Mhm.
you know, people come to us because they don't know something.
Mm,
I never want to make someone feel like I know every single thing in the world. I
I
don't. I'm
don't.
the first one to raise my hand in a room and say I don't know something, because this space is continually growing and continually innovating. That we have thousands of peptides in the body. We have maybe uncovered 1 in 100th of them. There's like only 100 we've uncovered, truthfully. So the fact that if there's anyone out there who says that they know every single thing, hats off to them, because I don't know, man. Like that's insane. It's such an insane claim to make. But I think we'll both sit here and always say that we are students and we continue to keep learning, and that's why we connect and collaborate with each other and others, because there's always something to learn. And I think that that's a big key
Yeah,
takeaway too.
absolutely. So to bring it back to glutathione,
Mhm.
another fun thing to know about glutathione is it helps regulate nitric oxide cycles and
Mm.
maintain endothelial health.
Mm. So
Yeah.
interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. So, and endothelial cells are all over the place. They're all
Mm.
over the place in the gut,
Mhm. epithelial
Just
lining.
the epithelial lining,
Lining.
making connections all over the place. We're
Hmm.
making connections all over the place.
Yeah, it's so
Um,
cool.
yeah. And as Bailey mentioned before, it supports liver detoxification. And oh, that was what we were going to talk about, vitamin C and E. It regenerates other antioxidants such as vitamin C and vitamin E.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a regeneration, recycling of vitamin C and E and glutathione that happens, which is why they say it helps your immune system because it parlays into that process.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
More
See,
supplements, write them down.
yeah, that emergency, right? The emergencies
Oh,
that your
yes,
mom shoved down your throat when you were like 14 years old, they're
right.
still kicking.
This next one's a little bit more adjacent, but we'd be remiss if we didn't mention it in the same conversation as our helper peps. And that is one of my favorite peps, epitalin, also bioregulator. Props to
Hmm.
Dr. Cavinson. Epithalin, it supports the thymus because,
Crazy.
yeah, yeah,
Crazy.
supports thymus health because of its resetting of the circadian rhythm. So good sleep helps
Hmm.
your immune system. Who knew?
Who
And
knew?
then telomerase, the lengthening of your telomeres. And for those of you who don't know, telomeres are the caps on your chromosomes. And think of them like the caps on a shoelace.
Yes.
So as you wear your shoes, like let's say you ran a marathon in those shoes, the caps on your shoelaces get a little frayed and gunky. And that's physical signs of aging. That's how your body shows physical signs of aging when your telomeres start to get short and janky. So epitalin lengthens your telomeres, which then helps support the thymus tissue by keeping it young and youthful. So, how they say that one of the physical signs of aging is decreased immune support, it's because of the reduction of telomere length in thymus tissue.
Hmm. Yeah, isn't it
So,
so crazy? Like when
yeah.
I learned about that the first time and I thought of like the shoelace analogy, I was like, that is insane, but it makes so much sense because you have such big compilation of telomeres that it just tends to shorten as we age. And sometimes there's nothing you could like, and sometimes there's nothing that a potential researcher can do. It just
Mhm,
naturally happens. Hence the reason why epithalin is getting such big, like good heat right now in the sense of the public eye, because
mhm,
there's so many potentials with it. Can help with like even mental capacity. It can help with sleeping, like you mentioned, cellular regeneration, mitochondrial support. Like there's so many different aspects about epithalin that I don't even think we've even tapped into yet, which is quite interesting to me. And I think we're just only going to uncover more and more of it as time goes
yeah.
on. So I'm
Yeah.
I'm really stoked about this one because I feel like it definitely is getting some good heat in the best way possible. So
Absolutely. So basically, long short, it supports thymus health because your thymus gland, like many things, atrophies with age. So it helps slow down that process of thymus atrophy, because as we're making these connect the dots of all these compounds and what they potentially affect, all roads are leading back to the thymus gland. And your thymus gland, even without exogenous
mm,
peptides, they're already in there. All of these peptides are already in your body doing their thing, and they're researching them because they can support these processes by sending in the reinforcements.
hmm. Yeah.
You
And
know.
whenever I think of reinforcements, it makes me think of white blood cells immediately. Every time.
Mhm,
I think of whenever we are down bad, you got that fever, you got that nasty migraine that hasn't gone away. You have that, not like fatigue, I guess, right? Like that mid-afternoon slump. Like it automatically makes me think of white blood cells too. But obviously, when it comes to immune response, it plays such a big role, and epithalin can really help with the mechanisms of white blood cells and potentially increasing that, right? Which can only in turn make a researcher feel better. So very
yeah.
cool to me. Yeah, I'd love to see some more clinical literature come out about it, to be fair, like under something of like a chronic case, someone who, not even like sepsis is right, but just something that is like an autoimmune condition. Thinking of any autoimmune condition and potentially, someone doing a study on epithalin, like what would that look like, right? I think
Mhm.
advocating for more research is all the things that we want to, and having more clinical studies about it, because it's only going to give us more answers into our bodies and how amazing they are, which we already know that they are amazing, but how amazing can they actually be? And I think we've just scratched the surface of that, truthfully.
Barely, barely scratched
Barely.
the surface.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to explore finding the right billionaire to start financing these studies, because that's what it would take. It takes
Mm-hmm.
finance
Sure.
to set up these studies. All it takes is the right eccentric billionaire
Mm,
who wants to put
yeah.
their money behind this
Mm-hmm.
and see where it goes. Because the
For
the
sure.
Russian and Ukrainian studies on epithalin that they did, that I mentioned last episode, but it's worth mentioning again, on 80-year-olds were wildly successful. So they had a
Mm-hmm.
control group of 80-year-olds that they followed for 5 years. And in the control group, which for those of you who don't know what a control group is, a control group is the group that you leave untouched for comparison later to your experimental group. So the control group is what stays constant. So the control group of 80-year-olds had an 80% mortality rate because they were 80-year-olds. No other reason. The test group, the group that ran 2 cycles of epitalin a year for 5 years, for 10 days each, 10 mgs a day. That's how they did it in the study. That's why they call it the Russian protocol. Um, they had completely flipped the numbers and only had a 20% mortality rate
That's
from five
insane.
years. Isn't
That's
that
insane.
nuts?
It's
It's
nuts.
nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Doesn't
I
it?
mean,
Yeah,
why
it's hard to
aren't they
wrap.
studying this? How with results like that, why are they not dumping all the billions into epitalin research? I don't get it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what
Yep.
more do you need with preclinical literature that astonishing? Why is this? And they proved it. They've measured telomeres of research subjects after, during, and before the courses, and the telomeres lengthened. They
Mm-hmm.
lengthened. So it's like,
Yeah, it's
I
crazy.
mean,
It
it
blows
is
my mind.
crazy.
It's really hard to wrap your head around when you do see the clinical literature there, and then you question, why is it something being just dumped right into? I think about that all the time, right? And I do think that there are some, good movements, right, that we're hopefully going to see in the next few years. That's all I can hope for. And I talk about this a
Yeah.
lot, is accessibility in that sense too, of being able to get this more researched and having those clinical studies. So really finding a good billionaire. If you got one, let me know. Got some debt
Yeah.
to pay or different things, right? Like, we all got things we got to take care of. But I would love to see the research, right? And I would love to see how, even in young adults, in young researchers, elderly people, like, obviously they already did that, but even that middle age, right? Like, especially nowadays, and you would probably agree with me, the life expectancy decreases every 10 years probably, and it decreases by 5 years or a couple years or whatever, and it's like life expectancy is like 72 or something right now. It's like,
Mhm.
when we have something that potentially, right, could extend that, time period, that would be really cool and accessible, for people to be able to research more. So,
And it's also like, I think just by talking about it on this podcast, we're doing our part, because anything we can do to bring this research to the forefront of the public awareness,
mhm,
awareness is where it starts. You
right,
know what I mean? More people become aware of this information, the more they can start to request and demand and create a market
yeah,
for this research, because research happens when there's a market for it. Let's
for
be
sure.
honest.
Hmm.
It's like everything else in America, it's a business.
Hmm.
So when there's a market for a product, there usually comes along someone who fills the void,
Hmm.
you
Oh
know?
yeah, for sure,
So
for sure.
this is us doing our little part in creating a market for epitalon research.
Right. It's like we're literally putting like a stake in our yard or something that's like everyone needs to do this research.
Research epitalon now.
Yes, yes. And it's funny because it automatically, coming from my holistic background, makes me think of organic food. And it has made like me growing up, I felt very lucky, and we'll dive into this later, but I grew up in a very like holistic lifestyle and a holistic family, which I'm very grateful for. But I'll just say, I've always said this, people have always had the power and they will continue to have the power when they have the demand. So prime example, organic food was never a thing. I mean, very rarely. You would have to go to a market to go get it. You'd have to go to your local farmer, Joe down the street and go get your apples and oranges and whatnot. But nowadays, you can go to Target, you can go to Walmart, you can go to Costco, and they got organic selections for majority of things. They got, refined sugar free, no carbohydrate, like whatever it is, right? But really adapting to the need of the people. And I don't feel like this will be any different. I think that, when there is some sort of demand at some point, things will shift. I'm not sure what that shift will look like, right? I think we're kind of going through that as well. And I always call it growing pains because it really is growing pains when you're in the research, space and trying to understand what's going on while also still researching these amazing compounds. So I will always say that I think people do have the power. And by doing our part, like we're only advocating for that. And I think that's what we both want here too.
Yeah, absolutely. So speaking of advocating for compounds, I want to talk a little bit about my favorite compound to talk about.
Let's do it. Get into it.
Let's do it. Let's do it. I did it again, folks. I wormed my way into talking about VIP, vasoactive intestinal peptide. And I'll mention again my Will-aided analogy that him and I brainstormed together. I will give him the credit. It is turning your vascular system from a series of garden hoses into a series of fire hoses temporarily. And there are a laundry list of things that happen in studies that it's just immeasurable and innumerable how many things happen inside the body when vasodilation happens. One of them is it calms mast cell activity and supports parasympathetic regulation. So that means by reducing pro-inflammatory cytokines, there it is, our favorite words.
Love it.
And promoting, you guessed it, regulatory T cells, thymus tissue.
Isn't it amazing? So amazing to me. Like VIP is the Swiss Army knife, right? Like I talk about different ones that are my Swiss Army knives that I claim for me, but VIP is the Swiss Army knife for sure.
Oh, without a doubt. So then it's also known as the master regulator of immune function. It enhances tolerance, protects against autoimmunity, and manages inflammation of chronic conditions. So it would be, and I keep saying remiss because there's so many things we'd be remiss not to mention in an episode about basically immunology and its relationship to peptides, or its peptides' relationship to immunology. You can't just talk about things that beef up the immune system. You also have to know that almost all of these peptides also modulate the immune system, which means it's like a thermostat that turns up and down. So for autoimmune diseases where people's thermostats are like stuck at 80 degrees Fahrenheit, a VIP can come help turn down the thermostat for them. And that is a potential in research models that I'm so excited about. Like, think of how many lives that would change.
Literally life-changing for so many chronic things. And I'm sure you have specific things that you've talked about in your like health journey, and you can probably mention them too, but there are so many widespread things that the body needs help with modulating, right? An immune system is just one of them. And dare I say it is one of the most important ones for sure, hands down. And so even diving deeper into that, and I hope for more, credibility for VIP because she is so good. And for those of you who haven't picked up yet, I call all the peppers she, because they are amazing and she is great. And, they are my besties in that sense too when I'm researching all of them. So yeah, always a she, typically never a he. just to clarify for you all who listen to all my videos, because I say she's amazing, glutathione's fantastic, or VIPs, she's so good. So
Right.
yes, but they're amazing compounds.
Yes. Yes. And mast cells are the ones that create histamine, right? I just want to make sure we're telling people at home.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Correct. Correct.
Just making sure. If I need to double check, then the people at home are probably Googling it as we speak.
Oh gosh.
All right. So now we've come to the main event. Let's get into talking about Bailey's newest BFF, her main girl these days. Let's tell the people at home, what is LL37?
Yeah, LO37 is honestly one of those amazing compounds that is finally getting some, let's just say like some credibility. Why don't we put it that way? LO37 really helps. So for me specifically, and I'll kind of dive a little bit deeper into this, and the reason why I'm, diving deeper into the clinical literature is because of mold exposure, something that I've had that's pretty chronic in a house that I was living in. So I was diving into some research, and what I found to be really cool about LO37 is there is this biofilm around bacteria. It's basically what protects bacteria, okay? So we have all these things that are nasty kind of in our body, and sometimes something like TA1 might not be able to actually penetrate it because biofilm is super strong. It could be derived from something like sugar, possibly even DNA as well. It could just genetically be something that is within the body that I was finding in the research. So all to say, LO37 goes in there to break down this biofilm that is protecting bacteria, which specifically for someone like myself, where I'm exposed to mold, that's pretty chronic. That bacteria is in there, that's very strong, protected by biofilm. A researcher would need something like LO37 to be able to penetrate and break down that biofilm, allowing bacteria to be able to be, how do we say it, detoxified out of the body, which is very cool. It's like one aspect of LO37, but it's been the most prominent one for me. I have really been only researching this one for only like about a month, 5 weeks, maybe. It's very, very new to me. So I'm still also learning like the other responsibilities that it has. But as far as I've seen, like the fact that you can have a compound that literally attacks bacteria in the biofilm is incredible. You would think of that as something as like not like an antibiotic. Yeah, like antibiotic, like an oral antibiotic that someone would take to fight off that biofilm. LO37 can potentially do that as well. But working with your body, not necessarily fighting all the bad or all the good and the bad bacteria within your body too, because that's the problem with antibiotics is it kills all good and bad bacteria no matter what. Hence the reason why they say you can only be on these for 14 days, can't take it any longer. And if you do need that, then you just need to cycle off of it, right? Because it's just killing all the bacteria inside of you, where L37 is very adaptable, right? We've been talking a lot about the adaptability of different compounds and the research behind them. L37 is also very much that way too, where it adapts to the bad bacteria and the bad biofilm, which I find to be so cool. It can be very, very great for researchers. That's one aspect, right? Something that's a bit more chronic. But for potential researchers who experience IBS, bloating, bad gut lining, bacteria, bad like histamine responses. I'm trying to think what else. Even some allergy relief potentially. Like there's just so much that still needs to be studied about it, I feel like, but I feel like it's kind of scratching the surface. And I even said, I feel like it's going to be our front runner, I think, coming into this next year, because it really is like a dual-edged sword. We're going to find out so many other things that it does because it destroys pathogens, basically, is what it does. So very cool as far as I've kind of tapped into.
Well, I want to give a shout out to Coach Cam before I go into this, because I pulled up his cheat sheet because I didn't want to skip anything on LL37. And he made an awesome cheat sheet. It's like, I feel like if we were in high school, I like borrowed his cheat sheet that he made for the exam.
Yeah, I'd be like, hey, like you already took the test, but you got like the answer sheet to it, basically. Yeah.
Right. He already did a really good job on a deep dive. So I wanted to just do an overview and
Yeah. There's so
so
much. And like I feel like
yeah.
I just gave a basic like
Oh yeah.
just
No, you did great.
overarching aspect of it. So yeah, there's a lot we could dive into if y'all want to. So
Girl, you did great.
mm,
You
mm,
did great.
thank you.
One thing I like to mention is its cool name is LL37. It's because it's two leucine amino acids at the N-terminal start of the chain, 37 amino acids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The name
Literally. Yeah. Isn't that crazy? It is crazy.
just crack me up. They crack me up. But abbreviated, LL37. Another thing I like is I have a new favorite biology word from learning about LL37, catholicans. So
Yeah.
catholicans, there are these things in your immune system, and animals, most other animals, usually have like multiple. But in humans, we only got one set of catholicans. So we have very innate immune architecture, and there's no backup. This is like first responders, specialists, all of it. Then we have the CAMP gene. So why I brought up catholicans is because CAMP is catholicin antimicrobial peptide. So that gene is what produces the LL37. And we promised to talk about vitamin D because here's another vitamin. Vitamin D directly turns on your CAMP gene and produces your LL37.
Mm-hmm. So cool. Yeah, I always love to describe LL37 too as it's your first body's defense. It's the first thing that it comes in contact with when you are exposed to anything. And that's what really intrigued me because I am a huge fan of the research of TA1. And when I heard that LL37 is like kind of up there with it, I was like, wait a dang minute. Like someone who's in that same realm has got to be doing something powerful. And she definitely does. She definitely does.
Mm-hmm. So you already talked about biofilm disruption beautifully. What another thing Cam mentioned that I thought was worth noting is LPS neutralization, another favorite biology word of mine, lipopolysaccharide.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good. I forgot about that too. Yeah, that's a good that's definitely a good thing to mention about for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
So when gram-negative bacteria die, how before we talked about how bacteria has either a negative or a positive charge, when the negative bacteria die, they release a toxic molecule that can trigger septic shock. And LL37 sweeps in and neutralizes those cells.
Insane. Think about that.
Yeah.
Think how like sepsis, right? Like is literally detrimental. Like I know someone who literally went to septic shock and almost literally saw the Lord himself. And so to think that that could literally neutralize that is profound research for sure. I mean, I'm not surprised. I would love to see more clinical data like in hospitals and studies like of potential people with chronic conditions like that to like see, right? Did it, someone who's a stage 4, whatever, they implement LO37. Did it neutralize those or neutralize that? Yes or no? And I would love to see it. I would just love to see it. That's all I'm trying to say.
There's been research in staph, MRSA, and streptococcus for LL37 helping. Cool. Also, E. coli, pseudonemonias, candida species, influenza, herpes, and enveloped viruses. Another funny thing is it's also been researched for people with chronic sinusitis. And I had surgery to treat chronic sinusitis like 7 years ago. And I'm like, you mean this whole time there was just a peptide?
Right?
To go under the knife.
No, seriously. Like there's so many things that's like we could have just done that. That would have been so simple. Even something I learned about like TA1 was potential researchers can negate UTIs by taking TA1. I'm like, you know how many times I could have saved myself some hurt? I could have saved myself some pain? Crazy. Because all the stuff that is out there currently is not, unless you're taking antibiotic, which I am just someone where I'm not really for them unless it's necessary, right? Like you gotta do what you gotta do. But to be able to just take a peptide for that, mind blowing.
Right.
So something that's daily, I mean, a daily occurrence for people, a struggle for lots of women, potentially even men too. So nutty.
It's true. Another thing you had mentioned already, the first responder role of LL37 is part of the innate immune system, which is the round of first defense immune system. So it's the immediate, non-specific first response. Then, I'm so excited about this too. The epithelial cell migration, it helps with wound healing.
Yes. That's right. I feel like I know Cam said that, I think, and I was like, wait, really? Like it totally shocked me when he was talking about that too, because I was like, wait, I had no idea that I can help with that. But yes, I do remember that now, which is crazy. Which is obviously
So,
good for, recovery aspects for people too who are going through anything chronic like that.
so there was a clinical trial on hard to heal venous leg ulcers, and they
Okay.
used a topical LL37 and 68 and 58% ulcer size reduction in just 4 weeks and increased new tissue formation versus placebo.
Wow.
So that's remarkable.
Remarkable.
Remarkable. Yeah.
That is so cool.
Um, then also, let's also shout out to and bring it back to something that connects all of these, the gut health and microbiome connection.
Mm.
So when LL37 is expressed, guess where it's expressed?
Within the epithelial?
Within the
No, within the
epithelial
thiamine. Within
cells?
the thiamine.
No, no. You were right
What?
the first time. Within the epithelial cells
Okay.
in the
I was
gut.
like, maybe it's a trick question. I was like, okay, yeah,
No,
yes, okay,
you
perfect.
were right.
Yeah,
Girl, you knew it. You
I
knew it.
did. And
It's
I
in
was
the
like, wait, we've been
epithelial
talking
cells.
so much about the thymolin. I was like, I'm probably
Yeah,
wrong.
thymus. The two main things in your
Yes,
immune system, the thymus and the gut biome.
yes,
So this is one where it lives in the gut.
yes.
And yeah, then yeah, so it helps with leaky gut.
Yeah,
It
IBS and stuff like that too, right?
yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And it pairs really well in research for that reason with another peptide we mentioned before, BPC 157. Because
Hmm.
when BPC 157 repairs that gut structure, like you were saying, the repair crew,
Yeah,
then LL37 can really
take
have
her
a nice
home.
little,
Take her
yeah,
home.
take her home, take her home.
I love that.
Um, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's so
And
cool.
then there's the anti-inflammatory, tying it back to all of these other peptides that have been researched not only for immune modulation, but for controlling inflammation.
Which I love. I'm
Right.
such a huge anti-inflam girl. I'm someone, and we'll get into it too, of like inflammation
Yeah,
is such a direct correlation to health. And if
yeah,
you do not have that under control, in a sense, you do not have anything, I feel like personally, because you're always sick. You don't sleep well. You can't digest food. You literally are just, I don't know, a walking
hmm
brick. I don't know. You're something, you just can't do anything, which is unfortunate. But that's why I've always been intrigued by the, immunology as well as the inflammatory properties about these, because it is life
yeah,
changing completely.
absolutely.
180, might I say, for some researchers.
Right. I mean, listen, this has the power to change lives. Oh, that was another thing I learned in research was that so we all know that there are non-antibiotic responsive illnesses.
Mm,
Okay.
which
That
ones?
um I think that was like the Mercer and the
Okay,
few others that we had read
sure,
before, you
sure.
know, strep staph aureus, streptococcus. Yeah. So
All
some
of
that
those.
become yeah,
Yeah.
all
Okay.
well, not all of those, but most of those. There can be versions of those that are resistant to antibiotic resistant infections are a thing.
Sure. Sure.
They have studied with LL37 because they are able to in their carpet model of breaking the barrier of the biofilm are able to destroy those foreign invaders when antibiotics can't because
Crazy. That's
because
like life changing. I mean,
because
because
they
yeah.
can mutate against and
Hmm.
defend against the pathogens can mutate and develop resistance
Hmm.
to the because antibiotics interrupt the pathways that cause these foreign bodies to reproduce, whereas LL37 kills them dead.
I love that. It's crazy when you break it down in such a simple form, right? Of understanding. Because, I mean, our bodies, and I say this all the time, our bodies are smart. They adapt,
Yeah,
especially when
yeah,
someone is having to take multiple rounds of antibiotics prime example. I went to my naturopathic doctor a few weeks ago, and she was even like, when was the last time you were on antibiotics? I was like, I don't even remember, maybe like when I was 7 years old, because I just don't do them. And she's like, it's great because each time someone takes antibiotics, your body adapts to it. Truthfully, like you have to get stronger amounts, in case you have something that's chronic, right? Or something that is really just beating down your gut, or any sort of thing within the immune system. You'd have to be taking more of it, which I'm like, it's so interesting. But makes so much sense because our bodies are so complex and because they're incredibly intelligent. So the fact that L37 could go in there and kill them dead, it's a good thing, especially for someone who maybe is a little bit more, on the side of they've been taking antibiotics, and they just need a little something else. I think it could be life-changing for people. And as all of these are, is what you guys are getting the theme of today, is these are all life-changing, and potentially can be, right, for different
Yeah.
researchers, for sure.
An important nuance is autoimmune conditions should take pause before participating in LL37 research, specifically psoriasis, lupus, and RA. Because it can contribute to it can result in a flare for people with those conditions. There's also a nuanced cancer context as well. It's anti-tumor, documented in gastric cancer and leukemia. However, it is linked to worse outcomes in ovarian, lung, and breast cancer. So healthy individuals participating in this research, low concern. Relevant family history, consult a physician. Well, with all of this, consult a physician. But if you're going to participate in LL37 research and you have a personal or family history in those three cancers, take pause.
For sure. Yeah, I even had conversations with other researchers as well, talking about RA, and I immediately was like, connect with, your physician, the person that you go to, right? It's always a good thing to talk to someone else, right? Like, we know what we know, but we don't know everything.
No.
And I think it's always a key part to really put them into play as well. As much as we like to take things into our own hands, like there are, times and places for that as well.
I just want to shout out, and this is not because my lawyer told me to, but it's kind of like, I forget which rapper said this, but don't hate the player, hate the game. Like, let's not hate on doctors. They did a lot of work and a lot of studying to get to where they are and to have an authority on the slice of the universe that they studied, right?
For sure.
They don't know everything. Nobody does. But we have to give credit to doctors and trust in your doctors, because trusting in your provider is what statistically improves health outcomes. They've studied that. I don't remember the percentage, but it is a study that trust in the provider results in healthier outcomes. So talking to your providers about peptide use, I think, is crucial to your health. Honestly, I talk to my doctor about peptide use. She asks me about peptides now because I've gone so deep down the rabbit hole. It is really important to paint the whole picture, because we're not just research subjects at the end of the day. We are people with specific health conditions that, could produce contraindications if using the wrong peptide. And
for sure,
you can do all the research in the world, but sometimes doctors are trained to see a bigger picture that you might not, because they were trained to think in a specific way. That's what med school teaches you. It teaches you to memorize shit, but then it teaches you to approach patients like a puzzle and put it all together. And I think good doctors, they're hard to find, but when you find a good doctor, they're worth their weight in gold.
For sure. Yeah. And you've heard me talk about it recently too, of it took me many years to find the one that I have now. And she is amazing, truthfully, through and through. Someone where, I've been through the ringer. I think we all have trying to find someone that just understands you. And I think that that's truly what doctors are trying to do, is to understand you, and understand your needs, understand where you're kind of coming from. And for myself, I feel really lucky because I feel like I hit a gold mine with mine, right? Like weight in gold, when you find one, because it's like I'm able to be so transparent to the point of they're able to help me along my journey. They're able to support me along with my decisions. And I think advocating for yourself in that manner is crucial. I don't think that you need to neglect doctors altogether. I don't agree with that. I think that you should have someone that you go to and that you trust and that understands you truthfully and with full transparency. It always kind of breaks my heart when I hear from people who just they don't want to go because they're scared because they've had bad experiences, and I completely understand. I think we all have had that, but it definitely shouldn't shy you away from still advocating for yourself. And that's really what it is about. It's not necessarily about like the doctor, but it is about you and you getting that information and having someone you can go to when you need that support, you know? Because I was that way. I was someone where it's like, I just don't need the doctor. I'm fine. I can handle it myself. And that's a pride thing. But at the same time, it's like you get older and different things change. And it's like, I need to find someone who truly does get me. And I think that that's what Caitlin was kind of getting at too, is really finding that. And when you do, it is weight in gold and it is priceless. I would never trade mine for anything in the world. So
Right.
yeah.
Right. Yeah. And it really is something that is important to remember, as well as, your doctor works for you. There's no reason to be scared of your
Mm-mm.
doctor.
No.
You know what I mean? You're paying them.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So what are you afraid of? Like, you're their customer. They're providing you a service. If you went to a restaurant, to be really reductive about it, and you ordered a meal and the service was bad, would you go back to that restaurant? I wouldn't. But if you go to a restaurant and they treat you like a regular right off the jump, and the next time you go, they remember your order and throw in an extra dessert, you're going to go back.
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing is like how you should, you know, assess your doctors, like the full experience. And there are good doctors out there that
Mm-hmm.
care, you
Yeah,
know,
there are.
um, it exists. So it's just to hammer this part home too. And the most important thing is getting regular blood work,
Yes.
blood
Thank you
work,
for saying
blood
that.
work, blood work.
Yes, it's so important. I emphasize it all the time. You can think that you know every single thing about your body, and could be completely wrong. And doing blood work is only going to help you. I always tell people like budget it into your life. If you have insurance, if you don't, even whatever way you decide to go with it, there are options nowadays where you can get even at homes. I mean, something that is going to give you baselines. Obviously, I encourage going in and actually getting like a full panel. I think that's the best that you can do. But budget it into your lifestyle, budget it as an essential. It's only going to help you long term and longevity in your health.
Yeah, you got to check under the hood.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
any,
you
you
do.
got to
Yeah,
check under the hood.
you do.
You got to check under the hood. Okay. Next. That was a fun little
Next.
tangent.
I love it.
All
It's
right.
fun.
We're gonna get into story time.
Woo.
And story time, the tagline is story time, perspective, not prescription.
Mm.
We're talking about personal experiences and how people describe them, not recommendations. Everyone's experience is different, and this is all for educational context only. So let's get into it. Bailey, can you walk me through a time in your life and how you started like exploring peptide research during that time?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I think one of the most profound ones, or one of the most profound times I started researching was when I was at a point of, I was at my old house. And obviously, knowing now what I know is I was exposed to mold and I was dealing with chronic inflammation, chronic acne. I was definitely the heaviest I was, had a very hard time with keeping weight off. And then I just really struggled with allergies as well. Like it was something that all just kind of fell onto my lap at once. Obviously, I know the cause now, but looking back then, like I didn't know. And I didn't know what I was exposed to, or I didn't know the things that were kind of going underneath the hood, right? And for me, I decided that I'm very much like a holistic gal, as we've kind of talked about. And I definitely wanted to take matters into my own hands, just because, as I said, I also didn't find a good doctor years ago until recently. It took a long time, and I've been doing this for years now, years and years and years and years, even though I kind of kept it under the hood for a bit. But yeah, I really dove into one aspect, which was the compound pharmacy side of Peppers. And I was like, okay, like I had a friend actually introduce me to this. I was like, it was very brand new. Like there's only maybe a couple companies doing it at this time. And I was like, okay, like you're kind of weird. I don't know what this is, but I'm going to try it because she looked fantastic. She had like a full 180 in her life. And this was tirzepatide at the time, just to kind of give some context there. But I definitely was like, I'm open. Like I'm an open book by nature. I'm someone where I will do something at least once. Like I'll go skydiving. I will go try a crazy restaurant. I'll go to Italy. Like I'll do anything once, right? And so that was kind of my thought process when I was looking at a peptides, was like, I'll just try it once, see if I like it. Because in my mind, I think I had this preconception of I have done everything else. I am living a holistic lifestyle. I'm doing all the things I should be doing. I'm working out, eating right, and nothing was rewarding me for those choices. And I say this time and time and time again in my community is I wasn't rewarded for them. And so I tried tirzepatide at that time, and completely changed my life. Truthfully, it was something that like blew me out of the water. I only told my mom and I only told my husband. There was two people in my life that really trusted me and trusted what I was doing. Everyone else thought I was crazy, and that's okay. And now I'm just like loving what I get to do now, but it is so interesting of how I felt. Like I wasn't as confident. And so diving into that, I lost 11 pounds in my first month in 4 weeks. And I was like, there is some secret sauce to this. There is something here that I have not uncovered and I haven't understood, and nor did I understand 4 or 5 years ago. So, at that time I was like, I just want to learn. And I'm someone where like when I get hooked on something and when I get fixated on something, I want to know everything. I want to understand why it's doing it, because I have that holistic background and that physical therapy background of the body is so complex and it is so amazing, literally by God himself. And I was like, I want to understand it. Like I want to use it for me. And so I can like explain it to just even like my husband and my mom, like what it's doing. Right. Because it's hard to explain what peptides are if you don't know what it is, right? So that's kind of where my journey started. And I'll kind of stop there. But yeah, just to kind of give you a little bit of like a brief background of kind of where it all began, really.
So, what made you interested in exploring that in the first place, though? Like, what was the thing where it was like, I'm doing this? Like the decision?
Like a feeling, or do you think it's more like, do you want my feeling of it, I guess? Or do you think of like what,
Sure.
I guess for me, like my feeling was I was just sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I think that's really what drove the motivation to look at this, was because I said, I've done everything else and I've tried everything else. So if I do one more thing, what is it? It's another trial and error. I've done ketosis, I've done carnivore, I've done sugar free, I've done, carbohydrate free, like I've done it all. So I think I got to the point where I was sick and tired of being sick and tired and I wanted to change. And so that's where this came into it. And I think you do get to that point. I think a lot of people get to that point where they're done with what they've always done and they want to do something different. And so that's really where it started from, for sure. It was just a mindset. I think it was a mindset shift, if I'm being 100 with you. So,
My shift from what to what?
I would say mind shift from just thinking that I couldn't do anything, like I had no control over anything, to I could have control and I could get my life back. And that's why I say that a lot in my community, is like, I know exactly how you feel and I know exactly where you are, because I felt hopeless there, that I know that other people felt the same way and there is hope at the end of the tunnel. And really giving that encouragement to those who think that there isn't anything there, because there is. And I had to believe that for myself though, right? I think belief starts from within. It doesn't come from anyone else. You have to decide that you want change, or else no one's going to change for you, right? We are our own drivers in our life and we have to really take the wheel when it comes to that.
Yeah,
So yeah, I
absolutely.
know deep a little bit, but like good, I think that's just true though. Like that was my story in the sense of really starting, and why I made the decision, because I tried everything else, every supplement, you name it. I've tried it. Every single fad diet, tried it. Done every single kind of exercise you can name of, tried it. Nothing was working for me. And that's why I don't think that the conversation of calorie intake is the only conversation for people, because that was not the case for me. I was constantly watching what I was eating, all organic foods, all whole foods, And I just had, unfortunately, a condition where I was exposed to mold and that was fighting against me. Hence the reason we talk so much about like immunology today is because of something that I experienced, and being able to combat that with different peppers has changed my life completely. So
Yeah. And just to tell the people at home, I ask my guests what's something that is of interest to them to talk about, because I want people to be excited about what we're talking about when they come on the pod. And Bales was like, oh, I want to talk about this. I'm loving LL37
uh-huh,
glutathione. And I'm like, oh, okay. So we're
uh-huh.
doing an immunology episode. Okay. I see you.
hmm
Let's dig deep. Let's
Yeah.
dig deep. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's so fun.
it's fun.
So
It's really
fun.
fun.
And I think it is something that can apply to a lot of different researchers out there. You might think that your body is like at peak and then all of a sudden you just uncover something else. I feel like I've totally been like a, how do I say it? I don't know, like a sponge completely, like just wanting to absorb as much information, but then also be open to learning something new. Because the world is truly at our fingertips. And you guys, people in my real life actually hear me say this all the time, but I truthfully believe it is like the world is your oyster if you want it to be. And it really is. And I think if you truly believe that and you truly think that you can do anything you want to do in this life, you can change at any given moment, at any given time, the world is yours. The world is your oyster, and you can use that to help people. And I think that that's what I've really done here is change that perspective for a lot of people and give them that, opportunity back that I never necessarily had. I had to figure it out myself. Right. But I think it made me a really strong person as well and helped me, tell my story, and share my story with others who felt the exact same way, which is really encouraging and I think powerful too, especially being a woman. So,
Mm, mm. So, as you were just saying, share your story. That's like a perfect segue. What got you started in sharing your story on TikTok?
This is a great question, and I love this one because I think for me, I I had a really hard time coming to terms with sharing the things I wasn't proud of about myself. But I had this like epiphany, almost same thing, kind of mindset related, where I was like, there's someone out there who needs to hear what I have to say, and not in a way that's like of like condescending of like you need to hear what I have to say, but it's like I have something of like substance here that I think a lot of people can relate to. You see this a lot in women talking about like infertility now because it's something that someone is struggling with and they can relate to them because it's something that's chronic that 1 in 4, I think it's like 2 in 4 women actually experience now, which is crazy. And so it's like when people are sharing their stories like that, mine was the exact same. With peptides, it was like, this has completely changed my life and it would be a disservice to not share it with the world. And even though it's not what I wanted to do, like I love content creation and I've always been a content creator at heart. Um, Sharing the parts of yourself that you're not super proud of is extremely vulnerable and it's extremely difficult to do that and to put it publicly, right? I have more friends that I've never met in the entire world on my TikTok than I've had even like any of my stuff who are my real friends in my life. And I'm okay with that. I've come to terms with that too, that it's like I have the audience I'm trying to reach is not in my circle. And so I know that I'm doing something right by doing that. Um, but yeah, so I think for me, it was just getting over that fact of myself. And that's always the biggest hurdle. And I feel like you hear that on motivational podcasts all the time is like getting over yourself and just doing the damn thing and, like showing up for yourself. And I was sick and tired of breaking promises to myself and I wanted to keep them. So it was kind of a duality of I knew that I had something that I needed to share, but at the same time was also something that was, I don't know, therapeutic for me to have other people relate to. And if that was me coming out of podcasts and sharing my silly little TikToks, then so be it. Because now at this point, I've helped hundreds of thousands of people like get that confidence back, get that like joy back, and get their life back. That's priceless to me. And so if I knew when I first started, like I told my husband I had 8 followers on my TikTok, and people have maybe heard the story too, but I had 8 followers on my TikTok when I posted my first video, and I ran to my husband and I said, "There's 8 people who loved my TikTok and they liked my video and they fell in love with it and they followed me." And I woke up the next morning and I had like 50 people. I was like, "Babe, there's 50 people on my TikTok." And ever since that, like I knew I was in the right place. And not because of a number, but because I knew that there was an impact behind it. You know, a number is just a number. There's a lot of people out there who have millions of followers but have zero impact. And I think all of us can agree with that. But having even a small amount of community, and I feel like I impact every single one of them, is way more beneficial to me than any number I could ever have. So that's been really cool too. But not to get too elaborate over the question, but just to kind of give you guys a more overarching aspect of why I did it, and the purpose behind my content too.
You were building your Pepper fam.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And honestly, I say it all the time too. It's something I never knew that I needed. It was something I never knew that I wanted. It was something and a community of people who are the best. And you completely agree that everyone, for the most part, right, is pretty nice besides like trolls and things that we have. But majority of people are kind. And I think that a majority of people are nice and they, you know, want that community. And I think we lack that so much in our day in our lives because we are so isolated with social media. So I definitely think that it's been really cool to see that grow and to feel like I know like individual people, like so many at this point. Because I've been doing this for a little while now, but it's been so rewarding. And I love my Pepper fam. I really do. And I know you do too. So
Yes, I very much. I was talking about in a live yesterday because someone came in and was like, it's been really hard. Someone came into my live saying they have their GLP and they were all set, but they're afraid to take it. And I was like, just asking about their experience, not pushing on them
Yeah.
to take it. And I was like, well, why are you afraid? What are you afraid of? And she was like, my family's making fun of me, saying I'm going to be one of those cases on the news that has one of those horrible side effects. And I'm like,
Sad.
sad. So then I respond with, well, what would you like from your family? What do you want from them? She goes, I just would really want their support. And then I went off into, I really wanted the same thing from my family. When I started my GLP-1 journey, I got it from my aunt, but the rest of my family thought I was nuts. They thought I was nuts. They also thought I was nuts when I went on my IVF journey. And my aunt supported me there too. But then outside of just one person, my aunt, when I came to TikTok, it was because I wanted to build a community that needed support just like I needed support so we could support each other. And that's why when I started my content, I started calling people Pepper Fam because it was like the fam, I wanted to build a network of support the way I wish my family would support me emotionally. And I found it in
Yeah.
thousands of people. And it's like, listen, I'm not some big time creator with millions of followers. But if you try to fit all 6,000 people in a room that follow me who have shared experiences as I do, you'd have to get a pretty big fucking room. Okay.
It's
It would be a
overwhelming.
pretty big room. And I was like, so join the Discord group because we support each other in there. You know, follow me on TikTok. Look out for my podcast because I'm all about, you know, I'm trying to think of the analogy because I'm thinking of three different ones. And I'm like, if you build it, they will come kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's not that. It's more like, you know, the grass isn't always greener. It's green where it's watered.
Yeah. It's green
And
right where you are
sometimes
sometimes. For sure.
and sometimes you have to water it yourself. Sometimes you have to be your own watering can.
You
And
do.
it's taking that strength and being that for yourself, but then also taking even more strength and more bravery and going out and looking for other people who can help you along the way, looking for the helpers, looking for the people who like see themselves in you. And that's why I always tell my IVF story. That's why I tell my GLP story. That's why I tell my peptide stories. It's all because I'm looking for people who need that help holding their watering can.
Yeah.
And that the love I get from Pepper Fam is so profound and overwhelming and deep from
Is
people I've never even met.
that crazy,
Never
right?
even met.
It's crazy to
Yeah.
me. It's
Yeah.
like the most, like you said, the most profound, amazing people. And that's why I say it every time is like, I'm so happy to help and I'm so happy you're here because I truly am. Like, I'm truly so happy. Everyone tells me, even too, and you as well, it's like, you're just so happy and bubbly and fun. It's like, it's because it's such a fun place to be. When you create and you attract the energy that you want, that's exactly what you get. Not only is that biblical, but it's literally like science. Like whatever you
Mhm.
put out there is what you attract. And I completely agree. And I love that you're sharing your story too, because it's hard when you don't have someone in your corner who's ready to go to battle for you, right? I had many people in my life as well who told me, so you're just taking an easy way out, or
Oh, yeah.
that's crazy. Can't believe you're just one of those people, you know? And at the same time, like I've always had a really rough go when it came to friends. I've always kind of been that one person out of the group, never like the first choice. And I've really come to terms with that as an adult, that it's like I don't want to be, like I don't want to be at a table where people are always saying something about me, can never uplift me and never, benefit, I guess, per se. Like they can only benefit off me. Like I don't want to just be a friend like that. And I feel like that's why I've always been so much about other people, is because maybe that's what I wanted in return, was because I just wanted someone to notice me, or I wanted someone to like have that deep relationship with me. And so it's like I create that here with mine as well as you, is creating that deep connection because we lack it so much, or we just didn't get it. And I think that's why we pour so much of ourselves into it. And to be honest, it's not like it's even work. Like it's just fun to us. And teaching about people or teaching things to individuals is rewarding in itself. I mean, like you said, you sit 6,000 people down in a room. Like I've been banned 4 times. I've had like over 50,000 people at this point. Like sit that many people in a room and tell me you wouldn't be overwhelmed, or like I would immediately cry because I'm just a baby. But that's impactful. Yeah, like it's impactful. And I think what we're doing is making a difference. And I'm excited to see what that looks like even for us in the next 3 years, if that, like couple years, 2 years, right? Time moves so quick now. But I think it will be really great to have our community by our sides too. So,
Yeah. I love that. I love
mhm,
ending on community there.
mhm,
I think that's a good spot.
yeah.
All right, gang. So in the first episode, we got some feedback. Can you do a recap at the end for those of us at the gym who didn't get to write it all down? So I was like, this is a perfect opportunity for my trusty sidekick, Fort Worth, to shine. So here is the segment I affectionately is now going to dub Fort Worth's Talkback.
All right, today we had a really good conversation and we took a lot of good notes. We did talk about immune modulators and what we call them as helper peptides. We touched on the main ones, thymosin alpha 1 and thymolin. And we really just went more into the education of how they help our immune system. On top of that, we also went into CJC 1295, that is just not a immune system helper, that is also more of a recovery and overall physiology, right? As far as how it's studied. We also touch on the gut, which was the big one. Your gut lining isn't just about digestion, right? It's more about the immune in the interfaces of how we can be able to let more of the bad bacteria and be able to bring in more of the good bacteria to balance that gut. We talked about things like BPC, TB, and KPV, and how maintaining that barrier and controlling inflammation is more for just healing the tissue. Those were great conversations. So you guys went back and forth a little bit and touched on that, which was a lot of insightful information that I know that the viewers at home are really going to love. On the flip side, we also went into compounds like LL37 and glutathione, which highlight another key point. Defense isn't just about attacking pathogens. It's also about managing oxidative stress and preventing collateral damage. Of the other things that we did talk about was one main point is CDJ's favorite, VIP, and how it comes in full circle, and be able to ramp things up. That one is more about calming the system down, when it does overreact, especially when you have chronic inflammation. Let's see, we also drill down on immune system and how it is a network of things. So it's your gut, your brain, your hormones, your sleep, your stress, they're all talking to each other constantly. It was a really great conversation. Last but not least, the big takeaway that we're taking from this episode is the thymus gland. You guys said it best. There is a 50% chance that is immune related. Then it has to do with your thymus gland. One of the key things that I read is that the strongest immune system isn't the most aggressive one. It's the one that knows when to fight, when to tolerate, and how to recover.
Fort Worth, thank you for the book report. I appreciate you being here. The viewers at home appreciate you being here. Thank you for your service.
See you guys. Till next time.
Pepper fam, that's a wrap. Thanks for listening. And remember, this is education, not medical advice. Do your own research, talk to your doctor, never pay retail. I love you for being here. Seriously. And now that you know, Pepper fam, go do more of what makes you happy. See you next time. The views expressed by our guests are their own. Neither Caitlin Jones, Fort Worth, CDJPepperz LLC, nor Rolling with the Tides endorse or verify any claims made by guests. This content is for educational purposes only and is not medical advice. Hey Pepper fam, you can head to cdjpeppers.com for educational resources on peptide research, including vendors, experimental context, and reconstitution references. I'm a paid partner of many companies, so I may earn a commission if you use my code CDJ or my links. Products are for research purposes only.